think in your own life where I guarantee you there was times, I always tell people you got to get it wrong to get it right. There was times when you're like, oh, I knew I made the wrong decision. Like you knew it. You were getting the strongest message to say, don't do that. And you did it anyway. Right. And when you do
Yes.
that, I always tell people, well, look at that. That's your intuition. That's the
Feeling
part
a
of
little
you that I'm
flushed
talking
here.
to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time. And then but here's what happens too, Dr. Jessie, is then we judge it. And then as soon as you judge yourself for it, you shut it down again.
I'm Jessie.
And I'm Omar.
If you're a midlife professional facing a career shift, a relationship change, or a deeper calling you can't ignore, you've just found your home.
We've been there and we discovered they weren't breakdowns, they were breakthroughs.
And now we're bringing you the tools, insights, and real conversations that help turn life's challenges into powerful new beginnings.
If you're asking, who am I now? What's next for me? This podcast is your guide.
Let's grow, rise, and reinvent together.
Tune in, you're right on time.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into the ASQ podcast. Today, we welcome Lynn Bunch, an intuitive educator, spiritual guide, and transformation expert. I like that. With over 25 years of experience. As the creator of the ID Blueprint, Lynn empowers people to break free from emotional blocks, align their energy, and manifest their desires with clarity and confidence. Known for her bold, no-nonsense teaching style, she helps clients worldwide embrace intuition as as a powerful tool for healing, empowerment, and lasting change. So y'all know I'm reading. Welcome to the show, Lynn. Thanks for joining
Dr.
me
Jessie,
today.
you're amazing.
So
thank
terrible.
you. That was a mouthful, right? So thank you so much, Dr. Jessie, for having me on, first of all. I mean, let's talk about The Soul's Quest. What an incredible title of your podcast. I mean, seriously. So I just want to commend you because not everybody realizes what it takes to really put something like this together and to make sure that you're bringing on guests that can align with that. And I have to tell you, like, just having me on and having it be about the Soul's Quest, my whole life's been about that. And having somebody that's in the world, transforming lives by having people on like this it's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really,
Thank you
really.
so much.
And what it takes for you to get to this place too. I mean, I don't put that into, that's not lighthearted at all.
No, whenever we're guests on other people's shows and we talk about it, I think back to, wow, this is really a crazy story. But thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. I knew because we talked a little bit before we got started and, we chatted. So I'm all excited. So I'm like fumbling my words, but I am super excited to get to know you and learn more about your quest.
Thank you.
So let's get started. The first question that we always ask on our podcast episode is, where were you pitched? And I just want to know, this is a very casual conversation. I want our audience to get to know you and, where you were born, how you were brought up. What was your family structure like?
So I love that. So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. I still live in Arizona, and I have lived here my whole entire life. I'm a native to Arizona, which a lot of people are like, really? And it's been, my family is, mom and dad, they're still married. They've been married 60 something years. They started in Ohio. That's where they originated. And then I have a sister that's a couple of years older than me, and she has been, my ride or die forever. When we were younger, obviously, it was the, fighting with each other. It's the same sibling things that you have, but she has, she's been in my corner the whole time I've been in hers. And we have created our business. And I've owned this business for almost 30 years now, if you can believe that.
Whoa.
And I'll tell you a little bit more about, it's been a talk about a quest, right? So I have a mission and a purpose that I am completely passionate about that has been difficult, to be quite honest, difficult to actually move into the spiritual realm of how do I not look like I'm nuts? How do I not look like, this part of me, this intuitive part of me is just absolutely off the charts. So I was raised in a family. I was raised in a family that was Catholic, right? So they were raised Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And I say that in a way that is, I really wasn't, to be honest with you. My sister needed more structure. So my parents, they put her through more of the Catholic background. She went to a Catholic school and such. For me, got to like confirmation and they, they were just kind of like, that might take you on my mom actually is the one that was like, that might take you on the wrong path, because she knew I had something within me that they didn't really know how to describe. And when I look back, I look and say, okay, this is the intuitive side of me that I believe all of us have, by the way. I don't think I have it and you don't, or any of that.
Okay.
I just think that there's a part of us that if it's not something that's not taught out of us. So that's another thing that I'm a big component for. I believe we teach it out of our children. We don't do it intentionally, but our school systems don't have it, even our family unit, if you're on a more of a religious thing, you take it that direction. If you're not, if you're like, I don't believe in any of that, it's just something. Intuition is the messaging system from God or source or wisdom, whatever I don't have a connection to what you call it, right? But our intuition is our gut instinct. It's the part of us that has the hunch that when you listen to it, it's a quiet whisper. It's all of those. And as a child, I absolutely knew that part of me. I knew it so well, Dr. Jessie, that it kind of scared me, and probably my family, to be honest with you too, because they really didn't know what to do with it. And so if you fast forward in all the things that I've been doing, that's why I call myself an intuitive educator, because I really believed we needed to educate people, and I didn't have a place to get educated on that. I was either in the realm of really religious, like, oh, you're a Catholic and you're in a religious kind of thing, and I'm like, no, that's not really it. Or I'm so off the chart that I'm in a spiritual that I didn't really know what this part of me was. And I didn't know how to define it. And so I went through a lot of struggles, I shut it down when I was in grade school, had a lot of things that happened during that time, and really didn't open it up until I had my children. So when I had my two sons, that's when I started opening this back up and went, ooh, there's a part of me that is the most valuable, beautiful resource that I've just hidden, because it was uncomfortable, for other people and as well as myself. So, I mean, I can tell you all kinds of different things if you'd like.
Well,
Don't know how deep you want to get into it.
I love what you're saying. First thing I want to highlight is a lot of people when I like to speak in I statements. I don't know why I'm fumbling right now.
No, you're doing great.
I don't know if I'm just super excited or what. Whenever I talk to people, I always say things like, my family structure was, they shut us down. We didn't get to experience that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In your family, it sounds like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like, so they knew that there was something there with you.
Something a little different. Yeah.
Right. And they
usually, I'll tell you, this is the thing that I wrote in my book that just reminded me. They would see me. They'd call it tea parties. They're like, Lynn, we just knew it. You had these little tea parties, right? And I'd be in my room and I'd do pretend. And I was like, well, I think I'm having tea parties with like spirits and with spirit guides and angels. I didn't know what to call them. I just knew it was a safe, wonderful, great environment for me. And they would just go, oh, you're playing pretend. And they kind of make fun of me a little bit. Not because they thought it was cute. Now, fast forward, I'm going, oh, you're noticing this, and you guys are making, you're thinking it's a little weird. They didn't belittle me in any way. They just didn't understand it. And I was more like, well, I can sense the, unseen. I've always been able to. And so, but it became strange, and I didn't like that. It was strange. I'm like, this is very practical. This is something. And my whole mission is about that. It's like, let's not make this some mystical, magical, crazy phenomenon. It's a very normal part of us. It just wasn't taught to, they didn't understand it, to be quite honest. And so they talk about my little tea parties in a kind of weird way,
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, they didn't make you, maybe they made a little bit of fun of you because you were doing this and you were really into it, because for them, it's like
totally into it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds like they encouraged that anyways. It didn't shut you down in that way. You know what I mean?
No, there was no shutdown. It was more like, but we didn't really talk about it because I shut it down. I was the one that was like, we're not, I'm just not going here. And so I wouldn't have said that I had to kind of remember that part of me when I got older. I was probably 20. I was going to this, actually, I had already had my two sons, and I was going to this workshop, and I remember going, there's two things I had to remember. I was like, oh, I have to deal with that molestation thing that happened. I remember like going, oh, there's that. And then there's this other that I was like, and there's a part of me that I can't say that I knew it to be God, because, I was raised, like I said, Catholic, and I knew the language of God, but I didn't know the experience of it like that. And so for me, it was a very personal experience that I didn't care what you call it. I just knew that it was present within me. And I'd set that aside for a long time, but not because they told me to, because I kind of self-corrected that. I was like, doesn't seem like, when you kind of look around, you go, not everybody's having, I was very, very in tune.
Right.
I call myself a highly intuitive person. I'm not an empathic person. I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
what you're feeling, anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I'm very in tune with, like, I see the unseen. That's the only thing.
Right.
I can see a look that you make that I go, ooh, that means that they're in grief, or
Gotcha.
it like articulates quite easily, and very, I'm a
And
very
so
analytical person.
did you take those responses or those reactions from people as a negative, like that
Yeah,
was
I
something
did.
that,
I probably
okay.
did. I
Okay.
mean, I took it as a, you don't know this side. And it was more like self-correct, Lynn, because
Yeah.
even my friends, they always, this is Dr. Jessie. This was like typical of even in high school. You're so intense, Lynn. That's the word they'd use all the time. You're so intense. And I was
Really?
thinking, what do you mean by that? Like, so I had an experience of like, well, intensity, because I am a very passionate person. And I think the intensity of, like, I'm very analytical. I'm a person that I will see what's not seen. So I can, if somebody's, hurting or something, that's the intensity they were seeing, is that I believe I was always connecting with my own guidance, and I was always feeling that connection, but I didn't know how to articulate it.
Right.
And so I tried to fit it into different places. And it wasn't until had graduated. I was a smart kid in school. I was a good student. Let's say that. I wouldn't say I was like that really smart kid. I was a
Right.
good student. I knew how to get good grades, all that. But when it came to, like, okay, now I got to go to college, or I need to figure out what I'm going to do, I knew that if I went in that route, that if I went more of I was going to do like counseling or therapy or psych, because that's more like what I always felt like. I was like a good counselor. That's the only way I can describe it. Even with my friends in high school, even my grade school friends, they always wanted to talk to Lynn, because
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
that ability. And later I look back and went, oh, that was always me connecting. That was me
Mm-hmm.
connecting to my inner wisdom and sharing it. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what to call it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
know how to define it. And
Totally.
so
So,
I chose not to go to college, and I'll tell you why. Because when I first, I told you about this workshop that I went to, and there was just this opening that I was like, I got to deal with those things. And
right.
it had me open up to this message that was so strong within me, that's like, you have to lead people. And I was like, well, I wasn't a person that really was. My sister was more of like the stronger external leader. She was just more like that. And I just led from a more soft, quiet part of me. But I knew that there was something that I had to share. And I assumed it was going to be in, like, go to therapy, go to, do something on that route. And
Right.
the message was so clear that my knowing, it's a strong, so I believe we have knowing, seeing, feeling, hearing. So we have 4 ways that we really receive our messaging system,
Mm-hmm.
our intuition, right? Which, remember, intuition is your messaging system, not your connection to source. So source is God, spirit, source, the universe, whatever, gut instinct. It's whatever your term is. I call it
Mm-hmm.
wisdom. Okay.
Right.
The
Okay.
intuitive part is the way that you receive that. So you
Okay.
pray, you meditate, you're asking the questions, but your intuition is the way you receive it. So when I knew that I had to, like, help people develop that again, because they had forgotten how to do it, and myself included, I hadn't forgotten it. I had just set it aside. And it was,
Right.
like I said, the word intense, because when I'm working with people, it's a very intense thing. I go to the deepest. I mean, I take you deep. I don't
You
it's
don't mess around.
no, I don't mess around. That's why they say it's bold. I'm going to take you right
Bold,
there.
intense.
I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have people that work with me that say, hey, listen, I've done years of therapy, and you get to one session with you and boom, we're there. Well, it's
Wow.
because, for me, I don't want to do therapy with you. I want to get to the core issue and help you heal with that. And I'll tell you more a little bit about how I developed the courses that I did because of that.
Okay.
But you go back to, I'm like in the 20s, right? And I'm finally kind of through school, and I went, okay, I've got to do something.
Mm-hmm. Let me
And
ask you this before you go
yeah,
into that.
yeah, please. Mm-hmm.
You graduate high school, you kind
Uh-huh.
of have buried this
For
trait or
sure buried it.
this
Yeah. I
yeah.
would say I didn't identify it, because like I said, I think them always calling me intense was always me doing it. I just didn't
Right.
know what to call it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Did it, yeah, absolutely. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think though that when people said, "Oh, you're so intense," did it kind of make you feel
Oh, horrible.
insecure and not good
Yeah.
about
Total
yourself? Okay,
insecure.
like this is like
100%.
something I don't want to own and that's why you
100%.
buried it.
Don't
Yeah.
embrace that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
absolutely felt insecure, and
Okay.
I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel,
Mhm.
like I was kind of, I was a known person, and popular in my own right, but not for that part of me. Do you know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was some part of me that, it's like, if I could marry those two, I could
Yeah.
feel, I didn't feel ugly or anything. I didn't feel like not liked, but I
Mhm.
also felt it was very separate. I
Okay.
knew that I had 2 different sides of me, and that
Mhm.
that was really clear. So I did feel, I just felt insecure. I felt like I wasn't all of myself. And
Right.
I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all.
I got you.
So I'm
So,
moving forward to like, okay, do I go to college? Well, this
right.
strong knowing was like, I mean, it was so strong. It was like, if you do that, you won't know me. You won't know this connection. You won't know the inner wisdom that you've been being guided by. And I was like,
That's
oh my
interesting.
gosh.
I want to talk about that for one
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, please.
Because one of the things that we talk about in our trainings and our workshops and our
Uh-huh.
webinars, everything that we do is, because people will say, well, how do you know? How do you feel that? What is that? And
Yeah.
I always tell people that it's different for everybody because everybody receives that message in a different way, right? You could be
100%. Yeah.
driving and it could be on a billboard and you're like, holy shit, that's my answer. That's
That's a visual
it.
person. Like a visual
Right?
person will see something and go, or you have a
Yes.
dream. Visual
Right.
people they're very, it's a very kinesthetic. I mean, feeling based people are very kinesthetic. It's a very feeling based. You actually feel chills. You might feel like a brush of something. You feel like
Right.
the wind, you go, that, you feel somebody walk in and you're like, woo, you can feel their energy before they move in.
Yeah.
Like it's a
Yeah.
very feeling based, tangible, touchable
I
thing,
feel
right?
like I'm like
Kinesthetic.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you are too.
Yeah, because
Visual.
I've had that experience where I've been home and I've had,
Oh yeah.
in fact, today when I was blow drying my hair, I didn't have time to make it pretty and curly like
Oh,
yours,
you look
but
beautiful.
thank you. I felt something, I don't know.
Yes.
And I walked out of
Sometimes you'll
my
feel a
bathroom.
brush in your hair. You're like, whoa, what, so,
I
like
felt it
somebody's there with
I
you.
felt it
Yeah.
in the bottom of my legs and I was like, I mean, that's weird because there's no air conditioning, whatever,
Right.
over me. And I went out because I thought, is my husband here? Like,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I came out, nobody's in the house. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep blow drying my hair and not worry about this. I don't ever give it really too much mind. But one of the
Yeah.
things that I
Well,
wanted to
I would
ask you,
hope I want to help you to do that more because it will really circumvent some of your, I'll call them, your detours. So we'll talk a little bit more about that too.
I would love to hear about that.
Mhm.
We're going to get there. Hold on. I feel like this is going to be a long interview. Hold on.
Oh.
So a lot of people say, well, how do you know? How do you get this message? Blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of people are not in tune with these,
Mhm.
the knowing, the seeing, the feeling. And I want to know what that was like for you. Like, I know that you said that you feel it, you feel this stuff, right? But what was that moment when that happened for you? Not necessarily like the feelings, because I know what that feels like, and you kind of touched on that already. But what were you doing? What were you, were you doing dishes? Were you like, what were you?
No, I was
what was
driving. I
happening?
literally was driving to this workshop, and it was so strong. So a knowing based person, there's nothing to educate them. It's more like, I know if you educate me about math, I know about math, right? But if I know the answer and I don't know, I've never been taught that, it was like that. A knowing it was so strong, it was beyond anything I've ever learned. It's not like it came to me because of something that I was taught. So it's a very strong knowing that is absolutely unmistakable. You're really clear that you know it, and you have no idea how you know it. There's no facts. There's nothing that you can put it to. It's not like, oh, well, that was there. It's just extremely. And I knew at the time that I was driving there to this workshop, I'm like, oh, all that stuff that you buried, basically. And I told you about even the molestation. It's not like I didn't know I was molested. I absolutely knew it, but I hadn't dealt with it. And so it wasn't like something that, and it wasn't even something that I had really spoken a lot about. So it was more like I knew I had to deal with it, and it was going to come out in this. And it was just so strong, as if something came over me that I had shut down for years. And I knew that I couldn't stop. I couldn't not know it anymore. Does that make
Wow.
sense? It was
Yeah.
like somebody came into my experience that was like, you will now know this person forever. And it wasn't a visual people see, like you said, the billboard, visual
Yeah.
people will also have dreams, they'll get a flash. If I was driving, I'd get a flash of something. Now, if I discount the knowing that I have, I will become visual then. If I discount that, I will get a feeling. If I discount that, hearing based people, so they hear a lot in somebody's tone. They'll be like, a hearing based person they're very touchy to the tone of your voice. They're touchy to music. They hear things in music that you're like, I don't hear that, because they're hearing based. And sometimes that'll freak them out a little. Sometimes they actually will hear a voice that's unlike theirs, right? It's not that part of them that, how you can hear your own voice sometimes in your mind. It's not that. It's beyond that. So, and those are ones that sometimes feel a little like, well, this is a little crazy. I don't like what I'm hearing. So they'll shut that down. But for me, the knowing is it's just beyond it's nothing I've ever been educated about. And I just know it. I know it about them. I know it so strongly that I would bet my life on it. That's how strong you know it. And it's undeniable. So this happened to me when I was doing that. And I had been through a lot already in my life. And I knew that I'm like, okay, I got to bring this out. And as soon as I did, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because I'm going to look like a nut. I'm going to look like, how am I supposed to make a living doing this without, really any basis? I don't have a degree in it. I don't have, I was like, what am I supposed to do? And so that really started my journey of the quest of, well, how do I start allowing my soul to be embraced by this part of me and then teach the world in it? Because I absolutely knew that was part of my journey, is that I was going to educate people, which is why I call myself an intuitive educator. Because I was like, I have to educate people about this part of them that that they've shut down, that they don't embrace. And I've been doing it for a really, really long time now. It's very, it's something, it's a part of us that I think there's not anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about. A lot of people would say, oh, women have it more than men. And I'm like, no, we just embrace it. So I did this interview years and years ago on TV, on like Channel 5 or something. And they were like, oh, you think, oh, it's women's intuition. And I'm like, no, that's what you say. Because it makes it easier for us to say mother's intuition, women's intuition, because we accepted it more. But men, you look at any high-powered man that is literally, leading big companies, you ask them if they've trusted their intuition, and they'll tell you yes, every time. They'll trust their gut instinct. They don't know what to even call it, but they're like, oh, no, I know that part of me.
But that's what it is, right?
Yeah, it is that. So it's just that part of you that everybody wanted to make mystical and weird and woo-woo. And I'm like, oh, I'm taking all that out of it, because there's no part of us that it is mystical. I don't have it and you don't. We just don't embrace it. And we don't teach it. So it's not taught to us. And again, by not teaching it, you're teaching it out of us, but we don't realize it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, so let me ask you about, so you realized this as you were going to this workshop.
Yeah.
And you got this message that you're going to have to deal with all this shit that you've been through now.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about that. Where is that like, oh, okay, no problem. I'm going to embrace this now about myself.
Oh, no, I wasn't like, oh, this sounds wonderful. Let's do that. I was just, so I went to this workshop. It was a great workshop. I always tell people that I guess the way I would describe it is like, I found that part of me again in it. And the workshop it wasn't anything, I don't care. It was more of it was a workshop. So, I mean, it wasn't something that it wasn't actually. I was working and I took it off to be that, but it was one that was more like personal development, that kind of stuff. And it really helped me to know the spirit within me, my soul again. And so there were other people that were coming out of this workshop. It wasn't like a spiritual workshop. It was something that was actually very mental. It was a very mental process that I went through. But what happened for me, Dr. Jessie, is I was able to quiet the mind chatter. And so if you fast forward to all the things that I teach now, that's what we do. Our coursework quiets the mind chatter. And when you do that, you don't have all the judgment. So I was judging myself as a young child. I was judging, that part of me, which I'll call the intuitive side of me. I was judging that as abnormal, strange. People aren't, we're not talking about this. So clearly it's something that nobody else has. But I didn't think about it. I just knew I was judging it and I was disconnecting it from myself. Right. So it was like I was setting it aside. Right. And so now all these years later, I mean, I truly know that judgment is the killer of higher consciousness. Like you cannot reach your higher consciousness. You can't reach that side of you, that part of you, because the mind will shut that off. And the judgment is what shuts it off. So whether you're judging yourself, whether I'm judging you, whether you're judging me, it creates separation. And so what had happened was I separated myself. Like that's really what I did. I separated myself and went, okay, let's set that aside, Lynn. But in that, discernment is about facts, right? The discernment is a beautiful thing. You want to have discernment. It's very important to have. But when we judge something, that separation creates a disconnect between you and that intuitive side of you that is going to receive all the messages. So we have to quiet that frontal lobe monkey mind chatter that we have, right? We have to quiet that. And when you do, it automatically comes through. So it's not like my company, the parent company that I started was called Intuitive Development. I still have it, but it's my parent company because then I moved into having a curriculum, which is Center for Intuitive Education. It's a whole thing, right? But what happened was I realized I'm not helping you develop your intuition. I'm helping you quiet the mind chatter so that it naturally comes out. Does that make sense?
It
And
does
so
make
I
sense.
had to, over time, like start learning how. I just started with private sessions. That's how I did. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. I was working at the same time. I was an accountant. I was bookkeeping. I didn't do accounting, but I did a lot of I was really good at it. So I was really accurate at my bookkeeping, like to the penny. I had that kind of mind.
Yeah.
And even thought at one point, maybe I should go to school and, become an accountant. But what happens is that's, again, mental, right? So you're trying to figure out how you mentally are going to do this. And it just kept coming to me. No, do that for a living. I worked in a school system. I did their admin, bookkeeping kind of thing, like with my kids. So I started that process. And what started to happen for me is I went, the accuracy that you have to be good at that is the same accuracy I have as an intuitive educator. And so they married to each other, even though they were completely different. One was very acceptable. Oh, I'm going to be a bookkeeper or an accountant, right? And the other was like, you're a what? Like, what even is an intuitive educator? Oh, you're a psychic. And I'm like, well, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it a psychic, medium. I don't care what you call it. I call it an intuitive educator because I don't want that. I'm not interested in your psyche. I'm interested in the intuitive side of you that is super clear about, I know I'm receiving these messages. I know that they're so clear that I could change my life and I could make life decisions. And when I don't, and I make wrong decisions, it's because I didn't listen to that part of me. Right. So it's not about defining so much, some kind of belief system. It's about really learning how do you listen to that part so that you can be, to be honest, your own, I call it the most valuable resource, and it's the most underused resources because it takes us off course. Think in your own life where I guarantee you there was times, I always tell people you got to get it wrong to get it right. There was times when you're like, oh, I knew I made the wrong decision. Like you knew it. You were getting the strongest message to say, don't do that. And you did it anyway. Right. And when you do that, I always tell people, well, look at that. That's your intuition. That's the part of you that I'm talking to. Yeah. Every time. And but here's what happens too, Dr. Jessie, is then we judge it. And then as soon as you judge yourself for it, you shut it down again.
Yeah. That
right?
Judgment. That's what you said.
Or somebody judges you for it. Like you really effed up, what are you doing? Why are you off course? Like, why is that happening?
Or is it also one of those things where, I'm just asking, you tell me, shame. Oh. Is shame affiliated or associated with that? Because shame, I would say guilt, that,
absolutely.
Because, all of those things, because
projected
I feel like
guilt,
there's been so many times when I've been in a situation, I didn't really think it through. And then I was like, after hindsight.
But shame and guilt come after you've judged something or you felt so judged that you removed yourself from it. So that's why my definition, I don't know that that's the Webster dictionary definition, but in my teachings of my curriculum, I like judgment is the killer of higher consciousness because it separates you and you can separate yourself. So what comes though is if you have shame, you have guilt, somebody projected guilt onto you and you didn't hold them accountable for, hold on a second. No, I made the right decision here. Or if they did project it and you have to say, yeah, I did fuck up. I'm so sorry. The truth is I have to make amends here because I have to self-correct. So guilt is a momentary emotion. It's supposed to help us to reaffirm you made the right decision or make amends. I really screwed up. Let me fix this. But what happens is when you have guilt that is supposed to be momentary and you keep it, shame drops in. So now it becomes a part of you in like a shameful way. And I got to be honest with you, in all the years that I've been doing this work, I've had shame around, I've given strong messages when like life or death, kind of thing. Hey, get your things in order. This is, and not because I'm intuiting that, but because they know it too. And it's like people don't listen. And then I have such pain and such hurt around it because I'm like, well, what's the point of me even sharing this then? I've had to do my internal work and go, well, why am I even doing this? Because people will say, oh, you're super religious if you believe in God, or, oh, you're not religious enough because you won't call it God. And I'm like, so I used to get really stuck in that I'm trying to make your interpretation of who I am and what I'm doing palpable. I'm trying to have it be exactly how you want it to be. And the truth is it's different for everybody. And I wasn't teaching a belief system. So it was hard for me to go, well, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to build a business around this and help people? Right. And so one of the things that let's start with the molestation. So I have molestation, addiction, infidelity, some big hitters, right? Which poverty, we've got depression. So these are all what I call, and I have a whole curriculum around it that's called negative ancestral patterns. And so what would happen is I realized, and I can tell you some other time about how that came to me. But what happened is these negative ancestral patterns, I started realizing that we all have them, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has them. Now, not everybody has the same ones. So
Right.
you and I might have depression, or we might have addiction in ours because our family unit has it. Somebody else is like, oh no, I had poverty. I mean, I was on welfare. This is how we were raised. It's generational. So again, you got to remember it's ancestral. So it's generational. It's negative. It's it's in our human challenge. Like we're going to be humanly challenged with this in order for our soul and spirit to overcome it.
Right.
But when you judge it, so think about if you've been judged for addiction, or you're judging somebody in addiction, or you've been judged because you were raised on welfare, poverty, or you have somebody that, do you see, the judgment is what cuts it off. It's what makes it so unbearable. It makes you judge yourself. It makes you judge other prejudice, makes you judge other people. Even insomnia. That's one of mine that's on my sheet of negative ancestral patterns. And people go, insomnia. I go, yeah, watch how people, you go into a fog, your mind gets so crazy, monkey mind, that you can't make a decision. There's no clarity. Insomnia can be very, very detrimental to somebody. Ask somebody that has it. They're debilitated. They're on medication. They're trying to take sleep pills because they can't sleep. So
that's terrible. Yeah,
exactly. So we got some heavy hitters. One of mine was molestation. And I had to do the work to go, okay, there was a point in which I'm like, okay, so, okay, wisdom, why in the world would I have had this in my life? And truthfully, it's because I can teach from it. I can show you the scar. It's not an open wound anymore because I've handled it. I went back to it. It was my step grandfather that molested me. We went back to it. My sister and I both, talked to him, said, we forgive you for what you had to have gone through to do this with us. And that's between you and source, right before he died. Wow. So, and I've done all the work that I need to. But here's the thing. When you talk about molestation and you talk about it as a wound because you haven't dealt with it, it's an open wound. It's something that you hide. It's something you have shame around when it's not your shame. The other person projected the guilt onto you. It happened to you as a child, or maybe not, maybe rape, all of the ones that are really, these are some strong ones, right?
Right.
But I know for me, it's like, okay, this occurred for me because I needed to stop the process within my own family. So I talk very openly so that it doesn't drop down to my kids and grandkids, right? I can't stop it, but I can make them aware of it. And so we have to make them aware of it without the judgment. Now, how many of us are going to do that, right? You're going to judge the hell out of a child molester. Everybody does it.
Right.
But when you do that, so I'm not saying they shouldn't be held accountable. I'm not saying that children aren't victims of it, but I'm not a victim of it, because if I was a victim, then he's my victor.
Right.
So I don't process it like that. There's no part of me that processes that. I go, okay, this occurred. This is something in our humanity that we obviously came together for me to overcome and you to heal yourself from. Between you, that's between you and source, not me and you, not me and source, which is why I was able to forgive him. So and again, I can talk openly about all these things because they're my experience.
Right.
And I can help people with it because it's my experience. And so I've helped over all these years in different ways. Now, here's where the cool part comes in, is as I'm allowing first, got myself to like, okay, accept this part of you. Now the door is just wide open. Now I've got to, okay, now I got to set up shop, what am I going to do here? Okay, I'm going to call it intuitive development. I mean, I did the whole business thing. I was like, I'm going to make sure that this isn't some kind of woo-woo strange phenomenon. But at the same time, how do I do this and not have an education in it? Because you couldn't. There was no way. I was like, well, if there's a school for it, I do it. So I kind of realized that, I have to kind of make the curriculum. Like, I'm going to have to do this because I have to learn how to educate people about this most beautiful, valuable part of them that they haven't been. And so that's been my passion, is like, okay, how do I have a whole curriculum, and it's based on every single, I call myself an experiential teacher, that every experience I've gone through, I went, okay, how do I put this into form? How do I, and so if you took our curriculum, you'd see it. You can take it on your phone. It's actually an actual curriculum that is very tangible, that you go through the tools, I call it the soul's blueprint for you, the ID blueprint, right? Mm-hmm. In order for it's your identity, and you'll learn all kinds of things about yourself, good, bad, ugly. We pick out these negative ancestral patterns that are coming through our family lineup, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you and I both have molestation, right? Mm-hmm. But let's say mine's in, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So let's say you and I agree to that, and you're going through the program, you're like, yep, I'm gonna pick that one. So I also had, over all this time, I was like, okay, there's 6 main areas that people come to see me for. Now I have to tell you in the beginning, I think they used to either they'd call me a psychic. They'd call me uh, angel lady. That was one of them. Cause they're like, oh, you talk to angel. I mean, it was a whole thing. And I was like, call me whatever you want. I don't care.
Whatever.
Just make sure that you're healing with it. And then
Right.
what started to happen, Dr. Jessie, is they started making me their dependency, their guru. They're going to come to see and have a reading or have and I was like, hold on, now you're going to get dependent on me. And that is not what this is about. This is about teaching and educating you so that you have this ability. And so I had to start working my curriculum, and I have an incredible team of people that were working with me and have all these different years, some have ebbed and flow, right? Some have left,
Right.
some have come.
Yeah.
But what happened was I was like, okay, if we develop this, we'll actually be able to have it to where you take this. It's your course. It's kind of like going through getting a doctorate in intuition. That's really
Right.
what this course is.
Yeah.
It's very extensive.
Yeah.
But once you're done, you know yourself. You know the good, bad, and ugly. You know exactly what to do. You know how to take action steps when you're in that depression or when you're feeling addiction come in or you're feeling molestation. Now, listen, nobody's going to molest me now because I'm a strong woman that's not going to let that happen. But you know how they do it. So remember those 6 areas I was telling you about? So there's wisdom, which is your connection to source, right? There's time, finance, health, support, which is like your work environment, your community. And then the last one would be relationship. So obviously, as a child that came in for me, it would have come into my health or my relationship. It would have affected me in that way. Now, let's say you have molestation, but you have molestation in finance. So people can have that same negative ancestral pattern coming through their family, but you don't have it because you're like, no one's going to molest me, in relationship, but you have it maybe in money. So people molest you in your money. Do you see how so what I learned is as I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, it could actually happen in different areas, even though it was physical for me. It was a physical molestation, but it shows up in my life, maybe in my health, meaning health issues like start to molest me or people's energy does, and I don't stop it. Or for you, maybe it's the finance. Like I let people take my money. I let people molest me and taking and not holding myself the boundaries of it. Or for somebody else, it might be in their time. So do you see the word, even though it was a trauma as a child, now when you're not a victim of it and you can actually use it in your life, like, okay, where is this showing up in my life still? Gotcha. Addiction can be something that I have, maybe I have an addiction, or it's somebody in my family that has an addiction and I have to watch about overhelping them because I could be addicted to overhelping. So do you see where naivety is one of them? Naivety is an ancestral pattern and people are like, that's strange. But think of naive people. Like when you think if you have naivety, that can actually take you out. If you are with somebody that just keeps overriding you and you're naive to it happening, could really be detrimental. So all of these NAPs is what we call them, negative ancestral patterns. They actually, when you place them in the area, which maybe, like I said, your mom might have had molestation in relationship, let's say, but then you were like, okay, it's not going to happen to me, but you're not holding the ground of having it happen in your time. And you let people take your time. You let people molest your time.
Right.
Do you see where if you don't correct it, and most people are like, well, why does it have to be ancestor? I go, it doesn't have to be. It just is. Look through your family lineup. Yeah. Guarantee you. And it takes 2 rungs down. So it takes 2 times to actually, so like my children and my grandchildren have to clear it in order for it not to be in my family lineup anymore.
Gotcha. Wow. So I'm very curious because you mentioned your family. How is that? How are you showing up for them with all of this knowledge and this experience now that you've gained and understanding that this is where this comes from? How have you taught them as a mom and a grandmother?
Yeah, it's a very great question. So here's the thing. I would love to say to you, oh my gosh, everybody's perfect. Everybody, they just sat me down and said, okay, mom, I want to hear every wisdom that you have. I want to hear every message. I want to do everything that you see that doesn't happen. No. So I am a human being, just like everybody else. Right. Oh. And so through, right. And so through this experience of actually developing this coursework that I've done for almost 30 years now, I've been through, they're part of my experiential teacher. They're part of the tried and true. Like this isn't working. This isn't. This is working. This isn't. So free will, you got to love free will.
Yeah.
So how many times do you know the answer? You absolutely know the answer. And you even, let's say, for example, if I said to my child, hey, that stove's hot, don't put your hand on it. And they do it anyway, because they're going to test it out. So they're going to burn their hand. They're like, wow, mom, you were right. So there's a lot of that happened in my life. And I was, for a long time, I think, very hypersensitive to, what are you doing? So the way I would describe it is I would tell them, if I said to you, hey, the train's coming, the train's coming. Don't go over there, or I say, you got plenty of time. Go across the tracks. You got plenty of time. It's way, way down there. So keep doing it. Well, then they mess around, right?
Right.
And then they look up and they're like, I'm like, wait a minute, you messed around. You had too much time. What are you doing? You have to hurry, hurry, hurry. Now you're going to miss the train and you're going to get hit by it because you wasted too much time. You didn't take action right away. So I had a lot of that going on. And my family loves what I do. My family is very involved in what I do. Every single one of them has a blueprint. My husband does. I've had a lot of trials and tribulations, but I can tell you that they were in the process of it too with me, Dr. Jessie. And so, I've my first husband, my children's father. Okay. There was a point in which I knew, I'm like, oh, he's going in the wrong direction. What I would have called, talk about addiction, what I would have called experiential. We knew each other in high school. We were experiencing, drugs and alcohol, and you're in an experiential time. For me was like, oh, we're going to have kids. We're stopping that. Well, for him, it was a lifestyle. And so because he had a lifestyle in that, I had to deal with that because of my children. So that ancestral pattern came down along them. He ended up dying, and he died. I knew the message about how that was going to. So I had pulled my kids kind of away from him at that time to go, okay, he's going to be there at the same time this happens. It was a drug altercation that happened. He got shot. It was a whole big thing. Wow. Now, I don't always tell everybody this part because, it's my family's, but I don't hide it. It's in my book. It's not like I'm hiding it. It's just more like, okay, what do you do with that? So I had a lot of where I had to say, okay, it's not that my kids or my family think I'm not right about this, because they do. They know the wisdom that's there, but they still have free will. So they have to go through their own. They have to choose it. They have to go, yeah, okay, I can see this. And so, fast forward all these years, when all that happened, I had to watch my own children. After their dad had died, I had to watch my own children go through their own traumas. And they've had to figure out for themselves, are you going to use this as a lesson learned, or are you going to be impacted by it? And I have to tell you that there's been a lot of trauma that I've gone through with that, because they have been impacted. Right. And they've chosen their own route. And you have to learn how to go, okay, this is it's so important with this work. You can't, just because you know the answer doesn't mean you can make them do it. Right. Yeah. And I have to tell you, if I had anything in my life that I could shift or I could change, knowing who I am today, I would have stepped back a little bit more and said, okay, I know that you have to want it. You have to say, yes, I do want that. And I would never cross anybody's free will client wise, but I would say with my family, there was a little bit of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to see you go through this. And so I was a mother at the same time. Yeah, right. Of course. So there was a lot of challenges with that, and really sitting to where I can now tell you with my grandkids, with my kids, that doesn't occur anymore. But it's taken a lot of work for me to allow me to own this gift that I do believe is a gift, and they do too. Yeah. So none of them critique me or anything, but sometimes there's I want to fall. I do want to fall, and I'm going to do it on my own. And it's like, okay. And then I always call it the come back, right? They come back and go, I really wish I would have listened to you. Yeah. So I have that same thing in my life, just like everybody else.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's crazy. I love that you shared that though, because I feel like there are a lot of people who are going to listen to this episode and they're going to say, or they're listening to this episode and they're going to say, I feel that. I get that. There's going to be something that they're going to say, oh my God, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's going to click for them. And I think
if you cross people's free will, I mean, I don't do it with clients because I knew that early on. I was like, take it or leave it. Here's the message, take it or leave it. But I'm not, I'm not going to follow you out the door. But my friends and my family, I got to tell you, it was a lesson that I had to learn. It took me a long time.
I was just going to say. It must have taken you because you're a human being. You're a person who cares, and those are things that affect you. And how can you honestly sit there and say, oh no, I did this with my own family?
I did it. I mean, trust me, there was one point, my youngest son, he looked straight at me and he said, I wish I was he was the opposite of what I was saying, right? I was saying, I wish somebody would have helped me find this part of me. He said the opposite. He goes, I wish I wouldn't have been this conscious, because it was really difficult for him to be in a world that there wasn't a lot of consciousness. And he was raised very conscious, very much like, here's what, Yeah.
Yeah.
So he never
Wow.
didn't know that part. But
Yeah.
he did at one point just said, I really wish I could have, basically been unconscious, because I'm in a world where there's so many people that they don't take accountability. They don't look at who they are. None of that. And so he got
I
lost
know.
in it. He really did
Yeah.
get lost in it.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
he's had
I
some
can relate
major
to that.
struggles because of it. Major.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And
I
there's,
can totally relate to that. I can see that. Because
yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes, and I think I said this to you before we even
Mm,
started the episode, and I've said it a million times. So I don't want to hear it from anybody that's listening or watching. But I lived in the Matrix. So I was
yeah.
completely unconscious. I had those little things that said to me, and I looked, and I'm like, no, leave me alone. I don't want to, nope. I need to do this. This is the label that I'm supposed to be wearing. This is the role I'm supposed to be playing, because this is what the universe told me that I'm supposed to be doing. Right.
Yeah.
And so I can understand that, because now that I'm awake,
Yeah. It's more,
sometimes I'm like, this is so, I feel fragile. I feel vulnerable.
yes.
So I can only imagine that is what you felt through your
Oh,
whole life,
I
is
felt it
this.
so strongly. But then there was a point in which, now I made a business out of it. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, not only is this, but here's the thing. Always people, because I don't wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go to work and then I become intuitive. It's like, it's a way of being, it's my
Right.
whole life. Right.
Well, yeah.
I do have restrictions on, at night. I'm like, nope, we're not bringing any energy in. I mean, I'm very clear about the energy, and I teach people that, because again, you have to remember, I didn't know where to go to make this normal. Like, I
Right.
didn't know where to go. So I had to create that. So I
Mm-hmm.
created an entire educational curriculum out of that, and out of all the experiences that I've gone through. It's very extensive, but it was because I was living it, and I was doing it when I was helping clients and my children, by the way. It's not like
Yeah.
my whole family was going through things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd think, well, you got it made. No, because you do have to honor. Some people will literally say, and you know this, you said you experienced it. That's a wrong message. You should not go in that direction. And every single time you'll choose it, and you're like, what am I doing that for? Like, because we do have to understand that that's our humanity that gets to override. It will override it. Now, it usually later will be like, I wish I would have listened to the inner voice. I wish I would have listened to that inner wisdom, that compass, God, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's usually after you've made that, gone into these negative ancestral patterns, and you're making mistakes, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed by it. I have,
Mm-hmm.
if you have financial issues, it's like all of those areas are going to make you wake up. Health
Right.
will absolutely, I've got more stories than you could ever ask me. Right.
Wow.
And some of them are heartbreaking. I mean, literally heartbreaking, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I told you the train was coming. What the fuck are you doing? Like, you asked me the message. I told you what it is, and the train hit you. And now you want me to be a triage doctor. I'm not. I'm just the one that was going to tell you it was going to happen and how to avoid it. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, what's the strength and the healing? But there was times when it was like, that really devastated me, Dr. Jessie, to the point where I really lost. There was a part that I lost the ability to go, I don't even want to do this anymore. This is a curse. I don't even want, because I'm going to always see the train. I'm going to always be able to tell you that, don't go with that person. Like, that's a wrong person for you to go to. Or don't do this. Don't take that job. That's not even going to fulfill you. Like, I can give you that because it's so obvious for me. It's more obvious. It's kind of like, so I fear my own accuracy, right? That was a big thing for me, because I would, again, you have to make sure that I'm making sure that I'm not trying to control somebody. Right. To,
That makes
you
sense.
follow me? Yeah.
Yes.
Because I'm fearing
Because
for
that's
them.
what it
Like,
could be
what are
like.
you? Oh, 100%.
I can just imagine that just clicked for me. If I was just thinking when you were saying that, maybe you saw it on my face. I would have loved to have had you in my life when I was making a lot of different decisions.
Well, you
because
would
I would
have.
have done.
You would have, but you wouldn't have.
But then I probably would have been like, this person, I don't want to share anything with her because she's always wanted to control my decisions. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They'll think that which is honestly the reason why I said, no, I'm building a curriculum. So, you're doing this. So you're the one, because otherwise you think it's, they used to, back in, I don't know, maybe let's say 15 years ago, they'd go, oh, Lynn said, I'd get couples that come to me, right? And I'm like, here's the path out of this. You don't have to get divorced. Here's the path out of it. How that's exactly, I could show them exactly how to get out of it. And they would use it against each other. They'd go, well, Lynn said, as if they're coming to a therapist that, Dr. So-and-so. And it's like, hold on. I will say something to you, but then you have to know if what I'm saying resonates with your wisdom. because
Gotcha.
I'm not in charge of, I'm just telling you what I get. You know, a lot of times people go, oh, you're the voice of spirit when I can't hear it. You know, they would call that, they'd say that over time. And I'm like, all right, I can go with that. But
Right.
here's the thing. The Lynn said was like a big thing for a long time. And it really was against me because I'm like, I'm not saying this. You know, this is
Right.
just that inner wisdom that's very clear for me.
Yeah.
And I'm delivering it. So it's like killing the messenger, right?
Yeah.
But it would make me feel like I didn't know. So I kind of was like, this is a curse in some way, because
Right.
I do know things. And if you're not gonna take that and do something with it, I'm feeling like somehow responsible for your misstep or
Right.
your ignorance of it or your, do you get what I mean?
Yes.
And
So how did you navigate through that? How did you get
well,
through that
I got to
to
be honest
arrive
with
to what you're
you.
doing today?
Yeah, very difficult. It
I'll
was,
bet.
I had a lot of, so the way I would describe it to you is, for me, when I realized you got to put the oxygen mask on you first to help anyone else. So whether or not, you know, they choose to go in that direction, you got to not judge them. You got to not
Right.
judge yourself. So I
Mhm.
really had to just apply it to my own work, like what I had
Mhm.
already created, you know, in that stop the self judgment. Cause I'm thinking, well, you know, I had a very good friend of mine that, you know, she had called and said, hey, what do you think? Do you think this is somebody that had cancer? And I said, oh, you got to get this, and this. And she's like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. You know, and I'm like, no, it is. It is a big deal. You know, you need to move this forward. And then she ended up passing. And when she called me, she had waited. I mean, it had been like 8 months later. You know, we were friends, but she lived in Hawaii and it was a whole thing. And so she dies. And I'm like, or when she called me, she's like, yeah, now it's really bad. And I'm like, what well, hello? Did we not talk 8 months ago? Why weren't you doing this and this and this?
Right.
And I realized that heartache that I was getting, it was hurting me. It was only hurting me. Like it was debilitating me. It was draining me. It was doing things. So I had to learn that with my kids. I had to learn that with my family. I had to learn that with my friends. That
Yeah.
it's really clear. And unfortunately, I teach this: pain, struggle, and fear are motivators. I don't believe we have to have pain, struggle, or fear. I really don't. But I think we only will be motivated when we have pain, struggle, and fear. If you're not going to go, oh, that resonates with me, like that,
Right.
I got that message, I'm going to follow that message, and I'm not going to wait for pain, struggle, or fear to make me go, what was that message again? Because think
Right.
about it in your life. I've had enough pain. You go, what was I supposed to do? Well, my whole teaching was about oxygen mask first, Lynn. Take care of you
Yeah.
first. And I'm not, it's not natural for me. It's not a
Right.
natural thing. Some people, it's very natural. In fact,
Right.
it's too natural. They're very selfish people. You're like, you know, hello, open your eyes to other people here, right?
Right. Right.
But I'm the
Yeah.
opposite. I'm very self-sacrificing. You know,
Right.
I'm the one that's going to sacrifice me before anything. And so what happened with that is that I realized when I do that, you're not going to be around for them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you
True.
can't hurt yourself enough for somebody to listen to you. I
Right.
definitely learned that with my children. You know, there's no way that I can do enough there's not enough food on the planet for me not to eat for you to have it all.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's just not. So I have to make sure I'm nourishing myself, and I will show you how to nourish yourself. I will help
Mm-hmm.
you. I'll give you part of mine, but I can't give you all of mine. And
Right.
that's really how I learned it.
Wow.
And we don't have enough time in this podcast to tell you all the things that happened to me, but
I'm gonna have to
I've
invite
had a
you
lot.
back for another one.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. Whatever feels right to you. I'm here
No,
to
yeah, definitely.
share my
I want to
story.
like stay connected with you now. So
Please.
let me ask you this, because you know, as you mentioned, we can't be on here forever. But
Great.
now, you've covered a lot of what you do.
Mhm.
Can you tell us how what are you doing today? What's Lynn Bunch all about? I mean, besides the
Yeah.
messed up introduction that I put out there,
Oh no, you
what do
did
you
great with
do?
the intro. You did fabulous. So I mean, if you were to look at, I do private sessions with people. I still
Mhm.
do that. I do events. And in the events, you know, I take one part, I have a 10 course curriculum. So in that we take kind of one part of that, because what happened is, as I was looking through my life, I was like, oh, these are the things that will help people become accountable and self-efficient. Right. So that's
Okay.
really what I wanted, and be able to listen to their intuition again. And so for me, that I'm just all about that. Like
Yeah.
I'm sharing my story with whoever needs to. I've written a
Right.
couple books, you know, I'm enjoying the heck out of educating people about this part of them and just living my life. I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife, I'm a, you know, I have all the things that I want in my physical world. And
Right.
I'm now continuing to enjoy those two coming together. And I've been through a lot in this
Yeah.
process. And,
I can tell.
you know, I really feel like I'm probably, I tell this to everybody, I'm probably going to, till I take my last breath, whether I have an uncle that's 105. So, I mean, I could live to that. I know it's
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
That's awesome though.
Yeah, I have
Wow.
105. He's still kicking it. He wrote,
Wow.
I think he was in the Guinness book on when he flew a single plane at 100. So, I mean,
Really?
longevity.
Oh
Oh yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh. That's
So
amazing. Wow.
yeah, but one of the things is, or I could die tomorrow, but I'm going to literally help people move to higher consciousness through their intuitive abilities till I take my last breath. So whatever form that comes to me, whether I'm helping people one-on-one, because I do,
Mhm.
whether I'm doing an event, which I'm doing, I think in 2 weeks, whether I'm on a podcast, I mean, I just really want, my passion is, if we could be, if each of us could be effective, efficient, accountable beings for their own connection to wisdom and living from that place, spirit is just in them. You're going to see the spirit of who they are. You're going to see passion. You're going to see purpose. You're going to have them. They're going to be self-sufficient and self-correcting, because that's one
Right.
of the biggest things is, I don't want to correct you. And
Right.
that's kind of what started happening over in my career, like long ago, before I really started developing the curriculum. Because I'm like, oh,
Right.
you're doing this because I said, like, I'm the teacher up there going, ding, ding, you're
Mm.
wrong. You need to do, like, it started
Right.
turning into that,
Yeah.
Dr. Jessie. And it got me into a place where I was like, wait a second, hold on. No, this isn't about Lynn said, even though I'm accurate about it. And you could follow the messages and you would definitely get, you would get results for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
but it would stop you because you're not really truly being accountable for what you're creating. You're not saying, whether or not you really are listening to your own,
That makes
internal
sense.
wisdom.
Yeah, that makes
Does that make
sense.
sense? And so
Yeah, yeah,
that's
for
so
sure.
important to me. Like, that should, if, my legacy of, if I take my last breath today or in whatever, like my uncle at 105,
Yeah.
I want people to understand that this part of them is you can't not live. I teach spirit, mind, body. So you know how a lot of people talk of mind, body, spirit.
Mhm.
So I teach it the opposite. I teach that if you listen to spirit and you run it through your beautiful mind that you don't want to
Mhm.
lose, and you
Mhm.
calculate it in the way you need to, and the way your mind works, the body actually is here to have incredible joy, incredible, like to enjoy everything, right?
Mhm.
So if we're listening in a spirit, mind, body way, we're not gonna have to have a lot of pain, struggle, fear.
Mm.
I mean, that's just the truth, because you won't have a reason to do that.
Right.
But if we don't, which, you have to realign yourself. And
Yeah.
so I truly feel like in whatever form that I'm supposed to continue to share, I'll do it till I take my last breath.
I
Because
love it.
it's just a part of who I am. And I
Yeah.
do believe that
I
we
can.
have to become intuitively educated so that we are combining all sides of us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful way to
Thank
end. But
you.
I do want to ask,
Uh-huh.
if anybody wanted to get in touch with you or connect with you, how would they go about doing that? That's
Yeah,
really important.
perfect. The easy way is just lynnmbunch.com.
Okay.
lynnmbunch.com is my name. It's out there. The Center for Intuitive Education is the center that I own as well, that houses the curriculum. But if you go to lynnmbunch.com, the programs are on there. It actually is, I have this incredible team of people that have helped us in making sure this curriculum's out there. And you can take one module, or you can take the whole thing, or you can come and work with me personally. And I think
Okay.
that I call it manifesting with Lynn, because you're going to manifest your life in
I
really
love it.
incredible ways and create things that you got to be willing,
Always,
So
right?
I got to
Always.
tell you, the key thing, we could close on this. People say, well, who's your demographic? Is it women? Is it men? Is it, children? Is it, and I'm like, well, truthfully, it's willing people. Because think about it. So you and I are having this incredible conversation, right? I'm loving this. I'm enjoying your time. You're very willing. But when you become unwilling, I am not a person you're going to want to be around. Think about that, right?
Right.
Because if
It's
I'm
true.
if I'm here guiding you and helping you with this, so as soon as and you're a willing person now. So but you could be unwilling if it's a subject that I bring you to and you go, well, I'm not doing that, or I'm not going to
Yeah.
say that, or I'm not going to apologize for that, or I'm not going to, whatever you
Yeah.
become unwilling with.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I don't care if you're 19 or you're 9 or you're all the way 91 or whatever your age is, as long as you're willing, because you have to have a willingness to actually create the life you want. And you got to look at the shit. You got to look
Yeah.
at the stuff that's buried.
Yeah.
Remember I told you that workshop where I was like, oh, I got to deal with that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to go back and look at it. And I
Yeah.
have to hold no shame with it. I have to not feel guilty about it. I have to hold the person accountable. And the way I did is, he wasn't allowed to be in our life. My parents, when we told him about it, he wasn't allowed to be in our life.
Mhm.
But there's a different you have to be held accountable for your human actions. So none of what we teach is not holding you accountable for that. But when you're personally accountable, there's a way of doing and living your life that is just, it saves the spirit within you, right? It saves the part of you that we shed most of the time. We give it up. You give it up for a good paying job. You give it up for a relationship that you go, well, I'm dependent on them. I don't want to. I love them. It's that codependency. We give it up for so many reasons, and we just have to learn how to, really work through it and not judge yourself and not judge other people while they're going through it, which
I love that.
Yeah. Big.
I love that. I'm telling you, we could keep talking, but
I know. I just love your openness too.
Aw, truly, I have a willingness for sure.
You are very willing. And I have to tell you, and just, in closing, I talk to a lot of people. I've met a lot of people in 30 years doing this work. There's some that I look at and I go, wow, you are, destined for greatness, to really like move yourself. And so there's a willingness for you to experience things that even you may not be able to articulate at the time. You're kind of like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Right. But what happens is I can sense in you that you're that person that's going to further it. And so like, don't ever do your best to, and I have to tell you this, judgment, we're going to judge 1,000 times a day. Okay. We're going to. It's how quickly you look at it and go, ooh, I got to let go of that. So judgment isn't something you can get rid of. It's something you can remove yourself from. It's something you can notice. First thing you do is you notice it. And then you go, ooh, I'm having a human moment. I'm judging. And then you bring yourself back into alignment with it, so you don't feel the separation. And when you do that, that's where the opening is. And you have the ability you have the ability to bring it in. I can just see that in who you are, and to look at yourself. And that's nothing to be light about. There's not enough people in our world that are doing that. So thank you for being one of those.
Oh no, I thank you for sharing so much knowledge and so much wisdom, and just it's just soul stirring stuff. I say that a lot on our platform, but this really was that for me. So
well, I hope this isn't our last time. I would love to work with you anytime. Yeah, anytime we can. I'm in.
We will. Thank you so much, Lynn. I really appreciate you being here. Amazing. This has lifted me in a lot of ways. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning into the ASQ podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so you'll never miss a powerful story.
And if you have a story of courage, transformation, or triumph that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Visit us at asqempowerment.com. Until next time,
lead your life,
shape your culture, begin within.